everyone, welcome to Emotional Eating Day 4. Thank you so much for making it through these first 3 days. We have learned so much so far. Today we're going to talk about willingness versus acceptance, how we can accept our situation, willingly enter into emotions, allow ourselves to feel emotions, and in that way get rid of our emotional eating habits, okay? So today is the day where we're going to dive deep and we're going to start breaking those emotional eating habits. So the curious paradox is when I accept myself just as I am, then I have the ability to change. I cannot change my behavior unless I first accept the fact that I need to change. If I keep fighting the fact that I need to change, then I won't change. It's when I accept myself for where I am now that I can become a better person, right? So accepting is noticing without judging. For example, if I wake up one day and I look at myself in the mirror and I think to myself, I am overweight. I can notice that and say that, and then I have two choices. I can accept it and choose to do something about it, or I can judge myself for it and feel guilt and feel shame and decide that I'm going to go eat emotionally instead of taking care of the problem. So when we accept something, we notice it without making any judgments about it, okay? Now, this is not something that we'll ever become perfect at, but now that you know what acceptance is, you can practice it. You can practice accepting truths or facts that you would like to change your behavior or change who you are, become a better person, okay? There's a difference between accepting and willingness. So accepting is noticing something without making judgment. Willingness is the ability to sit with emotions as they arise. So if we are willing to experience the feelings and emotions that come with our situation, then we can accept it. All right? So in other words, if I look in the mirror and I say, I am overweight, and then I feel, maybe I do feel guilty in that moment. Okay? Willingness says, it's okay that I feel guilty. I'm going to allow myself to feel guilty for a second. I'm going to let that pass, and now I'm going to do something about it. The opposite of willingness is willfulness. Willfulness says, I'm going to ignore the guilt and shame. I'm not going to feel it. I'm going to ignore it, and I'm going to cover it up. All right? So, sorry for the vocabulary lesson, but now we can dive into the rest of the material today. All right, so those 3 words, again, were accepting, which is noticing without judging. Willingness, the willingness to feel the emotions that come with our situation. Or willfulness, which is not accepting emotions as they arise and pushing them deeper and deeper down. We're not actually getting rid of emotions when we emotionally eat. We're just pushing them down underneath the surface, which means they're just going to keep arising until we take care of them with willingness to feel them. Okay, so today we're going to practice, we're going to commit to practicing our emotions, okay? We're going to say yes to the present feeling. So your first thought of the day is, as you're going through your day and emotions are coming up, you're going to accept them, allow yourself to feel them in the present. Okay, you do not have to feel willing in order to behave willingly. In other words, if you're sitting in traffic on the way to work and the person in front of you is going 15 miles under the speed limit, you can feel very upset about that, but you have 2 choices. You can be willing to feel upset about it, or you can be willful and not be willing to accept your anger, and you can flip the person off. It doesn't get rid of your anger, you're just not being relaxed and accepting of the emotions that are arising, okay? All right, so here's some tips for practicing willingness. First, relax your body and relax your face, okay? So if I am willing to do something, I can open my hands, okay, in front of me. I can relax my face. I can relax my body. If I am willful and I don't want to deal with a situation, I can tense up, clench my fists, furrow my brows. So that's the difference between willingness and willfulness, okay? And you can practice both of those, because if you practice the proper body language, there is a deep connection between mind and body. If you practice willingness in your body, you will feel it more in your body and you will feel it more in your mind. Okay, so here is today's interactive assignment. Practicing willingness. Number 1, think of a situation that you'll face relatively soon that you know will create emotions. And try to think of an emotion that you don't like to experience. So these last few days you've been trying to pay attention to what emotion arises right before you start to crave food or you emotionally eat. So what is that feeling that keeps coming up? Is it loneliness, sadness, shame? What's the feeling? That's the feeling I want you to practice with for this exercise, okay? So number 1, think of a situation that you will face relatively soon that will create that particular emotion. For example, maybe seeing a difficult person that's hard to deal with, or if you're going to be offered tempting food because you're going to a party. Step 2, think of an emotion or temptation that you find difficult to sit with that might come up in that situation. So I kind of said this already. So for example, if I know on Saturday I'm going to have to see Uncle Joe and Uncle Joe just makes my blood boil, that's the situation that I'm going to choose to think about because that's a difficult one. You don't have to try to choose the hardest situation in the world, just a difficult one for this exercise. Now, with this step, choose a length of time that you're willing to sit with this emotion. 5 minutes, 10 minutes is plenty. Okay, so somewhere in that range, 5 minutes or 10 minutes. Number 3, notice how you feel now, knowing that you're going to do this exercise. Knowing, okay, I am going to have to sit and willingly feel sadness or willingly feel anger. How does that make you feel? Does it make you feel anxious, nervous? Do you feel a little bit excited, hopeful that maybe things are going to get better? You don't have to judge your emotions. I just want you to pay attention to how you're feeling right now about this exercise. Number 4, when you begin to feel the emotion you're practicing with, anger, loneliness, hurt, guilt, shame, whatever that emotion is that you're practicing with, that's when you're going to start the timer. Okay, so as soon as you feel it, and you're going to sit with it for 5 to 10 minutes. Throughout that time, you are going to take note of how willing you are to feel that emotion. And you can give yourself a scale. So you can say, like, on a scale of 1 to 10, I'm feeling that my willingness is only a 4. Like, I kind of want to feel the emotion because I kind of want to do this exercise and I kind of want to get through it, but mostly I don't want to feel it. Or are you on the higher end? I'm maybe an 8. Like, I'm pretty willing to go through this exercise, but I'm a little resistant. How willing are you? 1 being not willing at all, 10 being I'm very, very willing and I'm not resistant at all. Okay. How does your urge to act change over time? So let's say you set the timer for 5 minutes. In the beginning, when you're feeling that emotion, sadness, what's your first initial urge? Is it to eat? Cry? What's that first initial urge? As you're sitting there for 5 minutes, how does your urge to act change over the time? Okay? What emotions arise either as you act, so you've made a conscious decision to act now? What emotion has come up? Or is it the opposite? What emotions arise as you do not act? And that's the end of our exercise today, okay? So today is all about, once we learn how to accept that, I tend to emotionally eat when I feel sad. Okay, first we need to accept that, because in order for that habit to change, we have to be willing to accept it. And then, what's more than accepting it, we have to be willing to sit with sadness. Because if we're not willing to feel that emotion, it's just going to keep coming up, because we're going to keep suppressing it and suppressing it and suppressing it. And it's trying to get out, trying to get out, trying to get out. So, accepting that I have a problem with emotional eating, accepting that I feel sadness right now, and then a willingness to sit with sadness. Instead of fighting the urge, really just allowing yourself to process through, what is this emotion telling me to do? Okay, and how do I feel working through this emotion? So this is just one exercise that we're going to practice each time we want to emotionally eat. And maybe today you're willing to sit with your emotions at a 10. Maybe tomorrow you're only willing at a 2, but that's okay. You're going to gauge your progress, and you can keep coming back to this exercise over and over and over again until eventually it becomes habit. Like, oh, there's loneliness and there's that familiar pull to eat. That's okay. I'm okay. I think my decision to act is going to be call a friend. All right, let me know what you thought of today's exercise, and please leave your comments below. Have a wonderful day. I'll see you tomorrow for day 5.